Greetings fellas, this is the part 1, of What If Female Deku, Ascend Beyond Human Limitation, Chapter 1. Prologue, Appearance of Chaos. The USJ had been infiltrated. Villains could be found everywhere. The four in the center were apparently the leaders. The first was covered in hands, it was obvious that he was the highest ranking. The second was made of mist, not very powerful, but his teleportation quirk meant that he was vital. The third was a huge monster. Its skin was purple, its brain was exposed. A bird beak with teeth made it look even more hideous. The fourth villain just looked out of place to Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo had been through a lot since getting into a. He had been chosen as All Might's successor. His power was explosive, and it was further enhanced by One for All. He had become a little softer ever since he caused a tragedy. He still blamed himself for her death. If only he knew the full story. The villains before him all looked so sinister, and then there was the fourth. Black hair peeked out from a dark green hoodie with rabbit ears on the hood. Hands were covered by white gloves. The villain wore black athletic pants that were skin-tight. Black combat boots and a black mask completed the look. Their eyes were hollow. So sunken that they almost didn't exist. Only a hint of color peeked through the one eye, dark green. A blotchy scar covered the right side of their face, making the other eye a milky white. On the villain's hip was a katana. They currently stood in a ready form, as if preparing for something. It was really odd. That villain looked like they were Katsuki's age. They were short too. Somebody like him surely couldn't be one of these higher-up villains. He is here. The short villain said. Bakugo didn't have time to process anything as the door to the USJ was blown off its hinges and he was suddenly near the entrance again. All Might stood before him. There's no reason to fret anymore, students, All Might growled. He wasn't smiling anymore. The expression of sheer rage on the number one hero's face made Katsuki quake, in his costume. Now that I am here. In a flash, the number one hero was gone. The minor villains that had recovered from Eraserhead's previous assault were floored once more. The broken body of Eraserhead appeared at Katsuki's feet. Young Bakugo, find Ru. She can heal him. The symbol of peace had been healed by a student by the name of Rutakanawa. Her quirk allowed her to regenerate any wound by consuming air around her. She had literally grown the man a new stomach from thin air, and healed his grievous wounds with the touch of a hand. Such a power could potentially save anybody from anything. It would definitely save Aizawa now. Bakugo rushed the teacher to the USJ entrance, where he found Ru. The girl began healing the decaffeinated teacher. Bakugo turned around to watch the fight. It seemed like the villain's plan was to use the purple monster to kill All Might by exploiting his weak spot. It could work, if All Might still had a weak spot. The healing had returned him to his full strength. It was made clear when he blasted the beast out of the building with a volley of punches. The blonde man turned to face the remaining villains, and brushed off his shoulder. We must go now, sir. The mist man said. Bakugo rushed in to join his sensei, pinning the mist man to the ground in a split second. Shigaraki, you stand back. I will not let you fall today. The shorter villain said. All Might rushed forward to punch the short villain at the same breakneck speed he always went. Yet his punch hit nothing but air as the villain just leaned back. No way. All Might's fist had just sailed over the villain's face. Bakugo could see their eyes flash for a split second. All Might followed through and brought his fist down, yet the villain curled around it. Their body seemed to slip past every attack with a disturbing grace. All Might continued his assault. The villain disappeared. Behind you, sensei. The villain was back to back with All Might. They stayed in the hero's blind spot with incredible acrobatics. All Might would turn, the villain would copy. All Might would spin around with a punch, the villain would duck out of sight and reappear in All Might's blind spot yet again. All Might would smash the ground, the villain backflipped over to his blind side. It was clear that the number one hero was getting frustrated. God damn it. Who the hell are you? The villain's eyes crinkled. Bakugo saw them slither up to All Might's ear. He couldn't pick up what was being said, but it clearly disturbed the hero. All Might whirled around and managed to strike the villain, sending them flying back a few feet. The villain landed in a cloud of dust. You're done for. Surrender now. All Might addressed Shigaraki. All Might was greeted by a viscous cackle. Bakugo turned to the dust cloud, as did All Might. As it dissipated, they could see the outline of the figure begin to form. The cackle continued, bringing everything in the USJ to a standstill. Shigaraki turned white. I knew we shouldn't have brought her. Master knows how she can get when she's unhinged. Sweat dripped from All Might's brow. This villain was tougher than the one that was supposed to kill him, and they hadn't even used a quirk yet. Bakugo looked at Shigaraki. Hey asshole. What do you mean by that? What happens to that one? Shigaraki shuddered. She gets unhinged, and she could kill anything in her path. The villain blushed beneath the hand covering his face. And it's goddamn sexy. Minoru Mineta watched as Ru healed Eraserhead. The man thanked the student as he got up. Before looking over the battlefield. I can't help anymore. I'm useless. What do you mean, sensei? You took out so many. I'm sure that you could take down that short person. Mineta said. You don't understand. My quirk doesn't work on them. Aizawa growled. They're quirkless. The class was silent. Denki Kaminari began chuckling. Quirkless? Please. Shut it, Kaminari. That one. There, dangerous. Mineta and Kaminari looked down at the battlefield, watching the villain avoid all of All Might's attacks, before taking one full-on. That's gotta hurt. No way they survived. All Might said something to the villain covered with hands, who turned white as a cackle arose from nowhere. All Might and Bakugo watched the figure emerge from the dust cloud. Their hoodie was tattered, their arms bruised and covered in thin scars. Their mask was still on their face, and their hair was exposed. Blood dripped from their fingertips. Long black locks of hair flowed from the villain's head. The style was similar to somebody, but Bakugo didn't know who. You've taken one of my punches. That is no small feat. Who are you, villain? The cackling died down. Everybody has their ghosts, what's that mean? Are you a ghost? The villain locked eyes with All Might. The hero saw what lied in that person. Burning hatred. A want, a need to do something. To accomplish something. A shattered mind. I like that. The villain ripped off her mask and brought her thumb to her lips, smearing blood onto them as if it was lipstick. A ghost. But whose ghost am I? Mineta saw the girl emerge from the dust cloud and lost it. No doubt about it, that woman was a dom. She looked to be his age. Oh, I wouldn't mind being stomped on by her. Mineta watched as the girl took off her mask and spread blood on her lips as if it were lipstick, perfectly coating them in a red glaze. Gee goddamn. All Might looked at the girl before him. He knew her, but from where? He'd remember somebody with those eyes, wouldn't he? Bakugo was having the same problem. He knew the girl, but he'd never seen someone so hollow. Oh, your confusion is so delightful. The girl's lips curled. She worked on taking off her hoodie, revealing toned muscles and a black sports bra. You don't remember me. I don't remember meeting anybody like you. I remember every villain I've fought. I'll add yours to my book of villains I've detained. The girl clutched her thigh and squirmed as she gave a moan. Oh, it makes me so hot whenever I hear somebody talk about their passion. This bitch is crazy. Bakugo thought. I love it whenever a hero admits to keeping track of how many fights they've won, while not even recognizing the tragedies they've caused. I get crazy when I hear Shiggy tell me what he likes to do. Oh, and Toga-chan. A shame that you don't get to meet her today. Mineta was currently burning the images of the villain into his mind. He'd never forget this beautiful woman. Hey, what's that on her back? A student asked. Mineta looked. There were 2 lines of writing on her back. He could only see that they were in kanji. It's kanji. Deku? Deku. Okuko Uraraka muttered. One who is useless? Aizawa raised an eyebrow. That's pretty ironic. What's the other line? Momoyarazu asked. Okuko squinted her eyes. It's a bit longer than the one before. Swan dive and not a hero, that's weird. Shouldn't we be focused on what she's doing? The girl's literally playing with herself in front of the entire class. Ijiro Kirishima squeaked. All of the girls turned red. Is that really? Yeah. I think that's obvious. Aizawa grunted, rubbing his nose. That one's trouble. All Might had had enough. He rushed the villain once more. The girl slipped out of his line of attack and drew her sword. That could be a problem. Have you ever heard of the hero killer Stain? The girl asked with a grin. Yeah. What about him? All Might snarled, deflecting slashes and throwing punches. He uses a katana like this to slice through almost anything. I once watched him slice the barrel off of a gun. I wonder. The girl rushed forward. Can a sword like that hurt the number one hero? The sword connected with All Might's side, but it only sank in a little bit. It didn't even draw blood. The girl leapt back. Curious, it seems that your weak spot disappeared. All Might went wide-eyed. How did you know about that? Bakugo looked at the girl's back. He saw the kanji. His face had turned white. No way. Apparently the girl heard him. Her head turned almost all the way around to look at him, giving him a creepy grin. Oh. I see someone's figured it out. Flashback. Katsuki Bakugo walked over to the desk of his victim. Izuka Midoriya, the quirkless wannabe hero. Izuka had been living on her own for a year. Apparently her father didn't hear about Inko's passing. Izuka used the money she received from him to pay for rent and food. Hey nerd. Bakugo grinned. Don't ever think that you could get into not like me. Izuka's eyes watered. Her tears fell upon an open notebook. What's this? Katsuki asked. Kaken don't. Izuka tried to stop the boy, who set off an explosion in her face. Quirk analysis? Ha. Katsuki lit the book on fire with an explosion. Here's some advice, Deku. Take a swan dive off the roof, and pray that you get a quirk in the next life. If you don't, at least you'll see your mom again. Katsuki walked off laughing hysterically. On flashback, that day had been the last day he saw her. She hadn't come back to school. And he found her phone lying at the side of the street, covered in blood. Her red shoes off to the side. But why you're dead? Bakugo stuttered. The phrases tattooed on her back said it all. Deku and Swan dive. Oh yes. Yes I am. Or at least, she is. The villain smiled. Izuka's gone. Deku's here to stay. She was in his face in the blink of an eye. He felt an impact as he was sent flying away from the mist villain. We need to go, now. The portal user said, rushing to Shigaraki's side. All Might watched a tear slide down the girl's cheek. And how can you not remember? All Might looked at the villain. He saw himself reflected in her hollow eyes. All Might, do you think somebody without a quirk can be a hero? Without a quirk. All Might froze. It can't be. I watched you and you did nothing. Flashback. Can I be a hero without a quirk? Izuka stood before an emaciated man. Toshinori Yagi. The symbol of peace. Without a quirk? The man muttered. I'm sorry. But I don't think that it's possible. I'm sorry kid, most villains, they can destroy buildings with nothing but a clap. Such power can only be fought with other power. One without a quirk doesn't belong in that world. The girl's form slumped. I'll tell you what. You could become a police officer. Or a doctor. They save people every day. It's good to have a dream. Just make sure that it's attainable. Toshinori began walking towards the stairwell. Thank you, All Might. The man turned around to see the girl crying. A sad smile was on her face. I've made my decision. Toshinori's eyes went wide as the girl broke into a run. No. Don't. The Girl leapt from the rooftop. Her arms outstretched. Toshinori tried to will One for All to respond. He couldn't do it. He couldn't use his power. He watched as the girl broke against the pavement. Toshinori rushed down the stairs. Blood spurted from his mouth. He had to make sure that the girl would be alive. He rushed out to the street, where her body lay unmoving. Her arms and legs bent at odd angles. A death rattle came from the girl. "Imam. I can see you again, Imam." The girl's eyes dimmed. Toshinori wept. An ambulance sped up to the sidewalk. "Move, damn it." A man with scarred skin ran forward, accompanied by a girl in a nurse's outfit. Her blonde hair was pulled into two buns at the top of her head. "Isn't she? She's an apprentice at the hospital, and if we don't act quickly, this one'll be gone for good. Now move." Toshinori watched in silence as the ambulance sped away. "On flashback you died. I never found you at the hospital." The girl grinned. "Because I never went to bang bang bang." 3 gunshots cut the girl off. She leapt back as the bullets hit the ground. "I've brought reinforcements," Tenya Ida shouted. "We go now." The mist man roared. A portal, spinning to life around Shigaraki. The two disappeared, yet the portal stayed open. Deku. Bakugo leapt at his childhood victim. No explosion. Izuka went wide-eyed, before ducking. Smash! A shockwave ripped out of Bakugo's arm, breaking it. Izuka dodged. "You have his." Izuka's eyes found their way to All Might, who had the most guilty look on his face. 6 more gunshots rang out, only for the bullets to be sliced in half by a blur of steel. "What?" the pro-hero snipe exclaimed. The other teachers had the same reaction. "All teachers! Help All Might and Bakugo!" Cementos and Ectoplasm ran forward, making an army and manipulating the ground at the same time. Izuku didn't move from her position. She just glared at All Might as her sword countered any attack aimed at her. "You could give it to others all this time. And yet you turned me away." All Might flinched at the screaming girl. The other teachers hesitated, which was a mistake. They were floored by the enormous pressure of the girl's killing intent. "I should kill you now. But your life isn't mine to claim." The girl leapt towards the portal. "No. We can't let her escape." "Izuka. Shut up." Everything went silent as the heroes stared at Izuka. "Just shut up already, Katsuki. Izuka's gone. I'm just a ghost." The girl disappeared into the portal, which swirled out of existence. The teachers rushed to detain all of the villains. Ru helped Recovery Girl heal the injured. After the entire ordeal was over, Nezu and Chio walked over to All Might and Bakugo. The boy was curled up into a ball, sobbing. All Might looked defeated. "What's wrong, All Might? I haven't seen you like this." Chio stopped as she saw the entire state of the #1 hero. His eyes more sunken than ever. His proud hair drooping. His face stone cold. "Since Nana." Chio finished. A tear rolled from the #1 hero's face. "I failed again." "All Might? You didn't fail. Look, you saved the students." "I failed." "Nezu? I failed her. I failed that girl." Nezu was taken aback by the yelling. "Toshinori. It's really her." Bakugo sobbed. "But she wanted to be a hero." Who are you talking about?" Chio asked. Aizawa walked up behind them. "That villain. She was quirkless. It was her, right? The kid Bakugo's age." Nezu and Chio shuddered. A child had done this to the symbol of peace? Gave him a run for his money, and took me down too. "Ask Ru." Aizawa said. "Never seen a quirkless win in a fight against the #1 hero." "Who was she?" All Might stood up and began walking away, as did Bakugo. "Answer the question, All Might," Chio said. All Might stopped and gave them a broken look. "We all have our ghosts." Chapter 2, Fall from Order. Izuka Midoriya was always a quiet child. Her mother was one of the nicest people in the world. Both of them could smile in any situation. Even when they were given the news that Inko would be dying in the next month, they both smiled. They were a family that tried to find the best in everything. But it seemed that when Inko passed, Izuka couldn't see any good anymore. To her, everything had become gray. There was no black and white. There was no good and evil. There was only her, and the unspeakable amount of emptiness that she felt. Inko had told her to stay happy. Can I really be happy? Izuka sighed and let a tear roll down her cheek, before getting ready for school. The day was the same, except that there was no bullying. Only silence. Only silent looks as she walked into the classroom. Bakugo walked up to her and apologized. It's only because she was the only person you couldn't be mean to. Izuka just floated through the school day, never looking where she was going. She just let her body carry her to where it wanted to go. She saw mouths move, but no sound came out. There's nothing. Why is there nothing? Izuka ran to the bathroom. All shapes fading out of her vision. Only gray seeping together. Why is everything so empty? Izuka ran into the bathroom and whipped out an X-Acto knife. She sliced her shoulder 3 times and watched the blood drip down her arm. Red seeped back into her vision. This was followed by blue, then green, and eventually her vision returned. Izuka washed the blade off and bandaged her arm. She then returned to class. And so life went on for another month or 2. Izuka couldn't tell. She didn't remember when she stopped eating. Her bullies had begun going back to their old ways. They were braver now that Inko was gone. A curse. It was just a curse. How could she be happy when the only thing keeping sadness and anger away was now gone? Izuka turned to a poster of All Might that was hung in her room. He always wears a smile. No matter how bad it gets. Izuka wiped a few tears out of her eyes and walked to her mother's uninhabited room. She looked through the closet and found what she was looking for, a nightgown. A nightgown that Inko would always wear whenever Izuka felt sad. Izuka pulled on the nightgown and proceeded to lay down in her mother's bed. Izuka cried herself to sleep. Izuka put up with more and more every day, making sure that she would always smile afterwards, hoping that maybe it would make her bullies sick with themselves. Some of her bullies actually began leaving her alone, and a few of them actually checked on her, just to make sure she was okay. Maybe it just took a small act. Bakugo was still the same. He had started bullying Izuka even more than usual. He hated how she smiled. He didn't want her to smile. And then it dipped to its lowest point. Here's some advice, Deku. Take a swan dive off the roof, and pray that you get a quirk in the next life. If you don't, at least you'll see your mom again. You can't say that. Izuka shook. Bakugo ignored her as he walked out of the room. Izuka picked her charred notebook off of the ground. Stupid Bakugo. What if I actually did? It'd be on his permanent record. He'd never be a hero. Izuka looked at the remains of her hero notes. Never be a hero. Izuka hurled the notebook at the wall. Useless. What little information was left crumbled to dust. What's the point? Izuka stomped on the crumpled mess. He's right. They all are. Izuka stopped her foot and walked out of the classroom, leaving the crumpled shreds of her notebook behind. The girl walked off of the school ground and down the sidewalk. She eventually came to a small underpass along the way. As she neared the end of the underpass, Izuka heard a strange slurping sound. Invisibility cloak, size M. Don't mind if I do. Izuka turned around just in time to see a huge mass of sludge latch onto her. With you I can finally escape that man. Thanks kid, you're my hero. Izuka felt her consciousness fade. At least I get to see mom again. Smash. Izuka passed out. The last thing she saw was the outline of a man with huge muscles. Izuka woke up to an annoying tapping. Hey. Tap. Hey. Tap. Hey. Blah. Great. Thought we'd lost you there. Izuka was staring in the face of a muscular man with heroic blonde hair. All Might? Yes, and thanks to you, I caught the villain. Plus ultra. The hero held up a soda bottle filled with green sludge, before saluting and getting prepared to jump. Wait, if you jump, you might want to button your pants pocket to keep the villain contained. All Might looked down at his unbuttoned pocket. You're right. I'll fix that quickly. The hero buttoned his pocket and took off. That's odd, something feels off. That's it. Wait, what? You gotta get off of me, girl. I'm all for my adoring public, but this is too much. But if I fall from here I'll die. Oh right. The two landed on the roof of a building. I'm sorry, I just have a question that I need to be answered. I don't have blurg. Mist began pouring from All Might's body. Izuka was already launching into her question. I want to be a hero, but I wasn't born with any powers. My mom died a year ago, everybody else neglects me. But I still want to help people. So I guess I'm asking. Izuka looked up to see an emancipated blonde man. Blood spurted from the man's mouth. Please calm down. You aren't All Might. An imposter? I assure you I am No what ye? Izuka screamed. After about 5 minutes, Izuka was finally calm. So why are you like this? All Might sat down and pulled up his shirt, revealing a humongous scar. Pretty nasty, right? A few years back, a villain did this to me. I lost most of my stomach. Part of my respiratory system was reduced to shreds. Was that the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? Izuka asked. You know your stuff. But no. That weakling could never even hope to even scratch me. The thin man flexed a skeletal arm. So anyway, back to your question. Oh yeah. All Might. Izuka began squirming. This was it, her final hope. Do you think somebody without a quirk can become a hero? There was silence. And that silence was all it took to make Izuka realize All Might's answer. Without a quirk. Izuka's form slouched. This went unnoticed by Toshinori. I'm sorry, but I don't think it's possible. A tear dripped from Izuka's eye. Most villains, they can destroy buildings with nothing but a clap. Such power can only be fought with other power. One without a quirk doesn't belong in that world. I'm sorry kid, I'll tell you what. You could become a police officer. Or a doctor. They save people every day. It's good to have a dream. Just make sure that it's attainable. Izuka felt destroyed. Inside she was screaming out in pain. All Might was just another failed idol. Just another shell. Then what was Deku? Worthless. I'm just worthless. The man began walking towards the fire escape. Thank you All Might. The man turned around to see Izuka crying. A sad smile on her face. Her eyes seemed a little more dull than they were. I have my answer. The girl took off into a run as Toshinori's eyes bugged out. What have I done? No. Wait. The girl leapt off of the side of the building. Her arms outstretched. Toshinori watched as her body broke on the sidewalk. The thin and fragile man ran as fast as he could down the stairs. He found the girl with her eyes glazed over. Her breathing was slow and ragged. A death rattle. Mom? I can see you again, Mom. Toshinori felt tears streaming down his face as he saw the spark of life fade from the girl's eyes. No. No. Come on. Stay with me. Toshinori was doing everything he could to stabilize the girl. Sir. The ambulance is almost here. Keep it up. A citizen shouted. No sooner had they said that than an ambulance barreled down the street with its siren on. It came to a quick stop at the side of the road. 2 people got out of the vehicle. The first was a young man with black hair and scarred skin. The other was a blonde girl in a nurse's outfit. Her blonde hair was pulled into buns on her head, and her teeth were pointed. Come on. We gotta take care of her before she's gone for good. The two placed the dying girl on a stretcher and put her in the ambulance, before speeding away with the siren on. Quickly, Toga. Get her hooked up to the machines, there's so much beautiful blood. Toga. The girl's gonna die. Izuka felt something cover her face. She could suddenly breathe again. But there was still so much pain. Rest. She needed rest. Just rest. Fuck. She's slipping. Izuka was in a space. There was nothing around her. Only light. How could she even know that she was there? Izuka. Izuka turned to see her mother, sitting in a rocking chair. Izuka. It's too early for you. What happened? Mom. You're here. I can see you. Izuka Midoriya smiled. Yes, baby. I'm here. Izuka ran to her mother and embraced her. I missed you. Baby. I missed you too. But it isn't your time. You need to go back. If you wait too long, it could break you. Just remember, I'm always proud of you. You'll always be somebody's hero. Izuka looked at her mother and cried. Can't I stay a little longer? Izuka gave a sad smile. Mom? No, Mom. This one is interesting. Izuka's body was stretched out before a man with a strange mask. Why did you bring them, Dabi? I think that they have untapped potential. She threw herself off of a building. It's clear that she had nothing left. Can you bring her back? A loyal subject is the best subject, stand back. Izuka sat up with a shout. Mom. Welcome, my dear. My associates brought you here to save you. We have a proposition. Izuka was looking around like a wild animal. Dabi walked up to her side. Hey. Calm down. You're okay. Izuka rubbed her head. Give me a minute. Everything's just so fuzzy. Probably because you were dead for a minute there. The Dabi said. I what? Give her a minute. Let her adjust. After a few minutes, Izuka could see clearly. What happened? What do you remember? I remember being bullied. There was pain. Then I met that man. A fake. Then I jumped. I saw my mom. I died. Well, you did die for just a moment. Luckily I have a quirk that allows me to revive anything that's been dead for 5 minutes. The man in the mask said. Where am I? You're in my hiding facility. Nobody knows I'm here, so they won't know that you're here either. To the world, you're dead. So, I really did. Are you okay? Dabi asked. Dabi. Of course she isn't. We just picked her dead body up off of the sidewalk. A blonde-haired girl said. You're right. Sorry. Dabi said. Who are you? Izuka asked the blonde girl. Me? I'm Himiko Toga. But you can call me. How about babe? Izuka felt her face flush. Be babe? Toga's face flushed and she squirmed. Yeah, that's it. Toga. You tell me off and then try to woo her? You really are insane. Dabi shook his head. Enough, both of you. The masked man said. Let her adjust. She did just die. I'm sure she has a lot more questions. The two stopped bickering. Izuka looked at the man. Why is my vision still so weird? Describe it. I dunno. It's sharper. More focused. Almost as if I'm looking through only one eye. But both of my eyes are open. The masked man sighed. There are some things that I wasn't able to fix. Toga walked up to Izuku and gave her a mirror. What did I do? Iku's face bore a large scar. It almost looked like an imprint from an explosion. One of her eyes was milky white. Why is my face? I said that I fixed as much as I could. Unfortunately, your tissue had been damaged by something else before the fall. Then you fell on that side, destroying your face further. That's why you have that scar. The man in the chair said. Is that the only thing? You'll probably have some mental issues. Your brain is completely fine, but dying is not something to be taken lightly. Your mind breaks from these things. I'm sorry that Why are you laughing? Izuka was giggling maniacally. It's not like you can break something that's already broken. Toga blushed at Izuka's laughter. Damn, broken people are hot. How can I repay you? For returning my life? Izuka asked. Are you sure? I don't need a reward. The masked man said. Nonsense. You're the first people to be this nice to me. I owe you. Look, you can do me a favor by staying alive. Where is your family? Izuka's face saddened. They're gone. I don't have one. Everybody was silent for a moment. I'm sorry. The masked man said. Would you like to join our family? Izuka looked at the man. You mean, stay with you? Well, with these two. They'd be sort of like your family. The man motioned to Dabi and Toga. If you don't say yes, I'll make you. Toga smiled. Tears streamed from Izuka's eyes. I'd love to. Yes. The man smiled. Then go. Let me tell you, when you join our line of work, you'll be going through hell. Izuka smiled back at him. I've been through hell already. Second time around's always easier. The three left the masked man alone. Well then, Izuka Midoriya, I wonder how you will develop now? Bringing people back can always make them volatile. Dabi and Toga led Izuka out of the building they were in and down the street. They entered a small building with a bare room. Dabi called somebody, and a portal opened where they stood. The group stepped out into a dimly lit bar. Dabi spoke to the bartender. A man made out of purple smoke, and another portal appeared. The group walked through that portal, and stepped out into an alleyway. Okay, we're in Hazu now. You'll need this. Dabi said, giving Izuka a knife. Only use it if needed, and keep it concealed. We have some work to do tonight. Izuka stayed behind Dabi and Toga. What kind of work? You're kind of scaring me. Dabi and Toga just kept on walking. They walked through the open streets of Hazu. People bustled around them. No one paid the trio any heed. They eventually came to a stop at a small apartment building. Okay, we'll get you situated here tonight, then we'll be off. You will join us tonight, yes? What exactly will we be doing? Izuka asked. Dabi led the girl inside. Look kid, we aren't heroes. We're like permanent mercenaries. So you're agents for an organization? Yes, one run by villains. Dabi said. Even if it was a different organization, I'd say the same thing to you. It's kill or be killed. If you roll with us, you've got to be ready for blood. Izuka was silent. Look. What happened to you is tragic. You can still be someone who does great things. You can help change the world. And even if you don't want to, we'll stay by your side and protect. Let's go. Izuka cut Dabi off. I want you to teach me. Dabi smiled. He could see the glint of excitement in her normally dead eyes. I want to learn how to protect what's important to me, and change the world. Izuka had been given an outfit by Toga. The two had run over some ways to use a knife before joining Dabi on the rooftop. Izuka's outfit wasn't very armored, it wasn't even really a villain outfit. She just wore black athletic pants and a black sports bra. A black mask covered the lower half of her face. At her hips were two knives. Okay. Where are we going? Izuka asked. Sensei's been having trouble with an associate of the League. He's an informant by the name of Yukio. Dabi said. We were tipped off by our most trusted informant. Yukio is always well guarded. But we cannot let Sensei's information get leaked. Izuka nodded. Well then, what are we waiting for? Dabi smirked and began running across the rooftops. Toga and Izuka followed. There were points where the group would duck down as a hero jumped past. There was no reason to waste time. They eventually stopped in a housing district. A large modern-looking white house sat before them. Izuka followed Dabi and Toga as they walked into the house. A portly man with a creepy smile ran forward. Ah. Hello there. I'm glad that you shut it, Yukio. We know what you've been up to. The portly man smiled. Do you think I'd come that easy? The air shimmered. 10 bodyguards stood surrounding the group of 3. Shit. Dabi swore. You two take care of the guards. We'll deal with this guy last. Dabi tossed the man into the air, causing him to hang from his shirt on the chandelier. 2 guards rushed Dabi, who quickly whipped out a knife and dispatched them. You killed them. Izuka gasped. It's kill or be killed. What will you pick? Dabi fought off 3 more guards, Toga dispatched the rest. The group looked at the place where the informant hung, only to see that he wasn't there. Dabi suddenly crumpled to the ground. Izuka whirled around to see Yukio with a knife to Toga's neck. You try anything, and she dies. Izuka felt it. It was something that she had always put off, the feeling of rage. Her vision flashed white, and she saw her mother again. Go out by Izuka. The vision smiled evilly. You never could be you say fool. Izuka flashed back to reality. Yukio was towing the line, slipping his hand around Toga's waist. I know, I'll take this one. She'll sell for quite a bit. Toga shuddered in the man's grasp. Oh? Don't want to be a slave? A pretty girl like you would be. Yukio fell to the ground, a knife embedded in his forehead. Toga looked at Izuka and shuddered in excitement. The girl was grinning wildly underneath her mask, her arm outstretched. That's fun. Hee hee. Izuka giggled, I like this. Toga leapt into the green girl's arms. Yeah? Then you'll stay with us? Izuka ripped her mask off. Hell yeah, I will. Dabi stood up and looked at the dead body of Yukio. Huh. Bitch. He turned to the 2 girls. Before we light this place up, let's check to see if there's anything of value. The 3 looked through the house. They ransacked the entire place, checked under beds, looked through cabinets, overturned tables and chairs. Yet they couldn't find anything. He's gotta have something. Dabi grumbled. Izuka was looking through the study. Now, if I know guys like this. She knocked on each bookcase. Each time, the wood on each shelf made a clacking sound. Izuka smiled as she heard one made a boom. Wow, that's pretty loud. Izuka pulled out each book until one didn't come off of the shelf. It just leaned towards the girl, pulling a hidden lever. If you look hard enough. The girl grinned as the shelf spun around. Izuka stepped into a hidden room. The room looked almost completely empty. A stack of hard drives sat in a box off to the side of a desk. On the desk, a monitor flickered dully. The screen displayed a series of files. Izuka walked up to the computer and began navigating through it. Okay. Lots of information. Looks like this guy moves around a lot of stuff. Electronics, weapons, you name it. But where is his stock? Izuka opened a file labeled storage and smiled. Here we go. After inputting the password hidden on the bottom of the desk, the wall slid back to reveal several suitcases. 2 were your standard size suitcase. The 3rd was longer than the others. Izuka retrieved them and dragged them into the study. She located Dabi and handed the cases to him. Let's show these to Sensei first. Izuka said. Do you have anything that I could carry stuff with? Dabi pulled a folded-up duffel bag out from nowhere. What are you getting? Izuka grinned. The best things that he was hiding. The girl walked back to the hidden room and filled the duffel bag with hard drives. She then brought Dabi in. We're burning it down, right? Yeah. You get Toga and head out. I'll join you soon. Izuka met up with Toga at the front of the house. So you found the stuff? Toga smiled. That's good. You'll be a good addition to the team. Izuka fidgeted a little bit. Are you sure? I didn't do that much. Toga wrapped her arms around the green-haired girl. She nibbled Izuka's earlobe, and whispered to her. What you did today was so beautiful. You'll be a great villain. Izuka smiled as the house behind her burst into flames. A villain, huh? Who would have thought? Chapter 3. Break and Reforge score warning. You did well. And you had the girl go with you? All for one sat before Izuka, Toga, and Dabi. Yes, sir, she wanted to come. And she was very useful. All for One's lips curled into a smile. Good, good. Tell me of the mission. What happened? Izuka and Toga just sat on the floor of the room, flicking bits of dust around. Dabi always does the rundown thing. Get used to being bored. Toga mumbled. Actually, I want to hear the way he tells about me killing the informant guy. Izuka grinned. Toga took delight in the madness present in Izuka's eyes. Sir, we arrived at the house and Yukio attempted to trick us, playing us for idiots. After confronting him, he revealed that he had used his Quark Mirage to hide his bodyguards. Toga and I each took out 5. I was then knocked out by Yukio, who had snuck up behind me. I'll let Toga tell the rest as I cannot recollect it. Dabi said. Toga stood up and stretched. The asshole guy grabbed me and put a knife to my throat. I tried to get him away but he was surprisingly strong. I could see Izuka shudder as he talked of stealing me and using me as a slave. Something in Izuka snapped. Toga shuddered, as if recalling the entire thing was making her horny. She threw a knife at lightning speed, and killed Yukio with a single strike, embedding the knife in his forehead. All for One smiled. Is that so? Izuka, come forward. Izuka walked towards the man. You have untapped potential. Anybody who saw you as a waste is wrong. I'd like you to take everything recovered from the house. I believe that you will make good use of it. Izuka bowed. I will do my best to make you proud, sensei. The man smiled. Of course. Now, you two haven't had a good rest in a while, and you, Izuka, have been through a lot as well. Go take a few days to collect yourselves. I'll give you missions when you are as good as you can be. Actually. The man looked Izuka up and down. Never mind. For the next 3 months, train her. She might be able to throw a knife, but she'll need more muscle. Dabi and Toga bowed. Yes, sensei. The 3 left the building once more. They went the same route they took after Izuka came back to life. Street, room, bar, Hazo. This time they stayed at the apartment building. Alrighty then. Dabi said. Let's open these babies up, and then we'll start your training. Izuka nodded. Okay, let me take the hard drives first. The girl brought the box of drives to her room. She came back to see Dabi holding a really nice laptop. Can I have this? Seeing as you opened that without me, no. But there's 3. Dabi groaned. Come on. Izuka walked up beside the man. There were 3 laptops stacked on top of each other. Chargers for each were also in the suitcase, as well as several USBs and adapters. Get Toga. I'm sure that she'll want one. Izuka said. Dabi called the blonde in. Toga pretty much glowed when she saw that one of the computers was blood red. Izuka gave it to her. The laptop that Dabi pulled out was blue, so he got that one. The remaining one was black. Izuka picked it up and brought it back to her room. I'll use this for the hard drives later. The girl returned to the main room, where the remaining suitcases lay unopened. Izuka took the next regular-sized case and opened it. Inside was a large assortment of knives, as well as a handgun. A gun, huh? Izuka picked up the firearm. I won't use it until I learn how. Should come in handy, right? The last case was on the table. Dabi and Toga leaned in as Izuka opened it. The girl's functioning eye sparkled with delight. It's perfect? Inside of the case was a katana. Its black scabbard was simple. It was fastened to a black belt. The handle was wrapped in black cord. Izuka picked the blade up with reverence and slowly unsheathed it. The silver blade whispered out of its sheath. Izuka shivered as the feeling spread up her arm. Yes. Toga grinned. I can help you learn how to use that. I may specialize with knives, but I can use a sword too. Izuka nodded. Okay. So when do we start this training? Now. Dabi said, throwing a knife at Izuka. The girl jumped back a little too late, and the knife nicked her arm. See, that won't do. We'll be training your reflexes, your muscles, and your pain tolerance. Get ready, because it's gonna be hell." Izuka nodded, and just like that, 3 months of hell began. Izuka only got breaks on Saturdays, which were mostly spent on sleep. The rest of the week, Toga and Dabi kept her awake with knife training, weight lifting, running, stealth training, and pain tolerance. Izuka started off pretty badly when it came to running and weightlifting. She barely had any muscle at all. After the first 2 weeks, she was feeling better about her physique. She could do push-ups with Dabi on her back, which was sort of impressive. It would help her overpower people with no physical training. Her stamina was fine when it came to running, but she was slow. Her running speed increased over the first month, so she could easily keep pace with Dabi and Toga when they ran at full speed. The next month was given to knife and stealth training. Izuka's presence was not really noticeable in the first place. After some training from Dabi, Izuka became almost invisible. She could blend into any crowd without a problem. Sometimes Dabi was scared by her when he would go to make breakfast and find nobody in the kitchen. Only to take a sip of coffee and find Izuka sitting at the table, waiting for Toga. Toga helped Izuka master the knife. She had some experience with a knife, mostly from cooking, so she used what she learned about knives in training. Toga often found herself drooling at how fast Izuka grew. "I want her to get blood with me so badly." At the end of the second month, Toga and Dabi greeted Izuka with dark faces. "Izuka. The next 2 weeks will be psychological training, and pain tolerance training. This stuff can get a little terrifying. You won't ever be the same afterwards. Are you ready?" Izuka steeled herself. "I'm ready." Toga walked forward and gave the girl a hug. "Just know that what we do for the next 2 weeks must be done. Dabi and I went through it as well. We know what it's like. Just remember that we have to do it." Izuka nodded. Dabi walked forward. "It's time." Dabi knocked Izuka out with a punch to the face. Izuka woke up in a dark room. Her hands tied behind her back. Her ankles tied to the legs of the chair. "Hello? Where are you guys?" Toga walked in with a sinister smile. "Oh Izu, show me how you bleed." The girl whipped out a knife and cut Izuka several times before leaving her. And so the torment continued. 2 weeks with no food, only a little bit of water. Izuka lived in the dark room, strapped to the chair. Dabi and Toga took over in cycles, using their skill sets and quirks to inflict pain. They tormented Izuka with psychological games. They turned on screens with All Might's face, telling her that she was hopeless. Izuka felt her mind break over and over. A monstrous creature injected her with something some days. Izuka screamed in pain as the injections took effect. The last day of the torture came. Dabi and Toga walked into the dark room. Izuka sat panting in the chair, her lips dry and cracked, her hair matted and dirty. Her clothes were torn, partially healed cuts glared an angry red on her skin. Her feet were curled and scabbed. Her hands were raw and bloody from the amount of struggling she did. "You have endured the 2 weeks of torment. Now we ask you, what is it that you want to do in this life?" Izuka gave a dry chuckle, which quickly escalated into a terrifying cackle. The girl leaned forward, the chair squeaking as her arms scraped along it. "Revenge. I want revenge on them. All of them." Toga smiled. "God, that's hot. Let's get her out of there, Dabi." Dabi gave one last punch to Izuka, knocking her out, before taking off her bindings and bringing her back into the main apartment. There, the two dressed her wounds, before going to clean up the torture room. Izuka slowly woke up. She saw Toga and Dabi whirling around the building, cleaning up stains, making food. "You." Toga stopped and turned to Izuka with a cheery grin. "You're awake." The girl ran forward and tackled Izuka into a hug. The green-haired girl coughed in discomfort. Toga whispered to her. "I'm so sorry. We all have to go through that, and it's terrible for anybody." Images of the last 2 weeks flashed through Izuka's mind. Guts, wounds, the monster, mindless torment, all might. All might. And then there was what Toga said before it all. Dabi and I went through it as well. We know what it's like. Just remember that we have to do it. Izuka hugged Toga. What was that thing? Toga grimaced. You mean the Namu? Izuka nodded. What did it do to me? Toga clutched her stomach. Sensei made that for a specific reason. He says that we would get distracted if we were to ever have kids, so the Namu makes us infertile. Izuka was a little off-put by that. So I'll never have kids. Toga nodded. I'm so sorry. We should have told you. Izuka shook her head. No. I didn't know if I wanted kids ever. I'm still too young to make that decision, so now it's been made for me. Toga looked at Izuka. Are you sure that you're fine with it? Izuka smiled. Honestly, if I had my way, I wouldn't be able to have kids. After all, 2 girls don't make a child. Toga flushed red. Izuka smiled. What is it? Cuddles. I want cuddles. Toga said. You just tormented me for 2 weeks, and you want cuddles? Izuka chuckled. Only a crazy person would say yes. Toga let out a soft purr. I like when people are crazy. MMPH. Izuka had grabbed Toga by the shoulders and pulled her into a deep kiss. Lucky you. I'm crazy. Aw fuck. You're getting that all over the couch. Dabi had walked in on them making out. Izuku gave a soft chuckle. What is it? Your brooding couch? Dabi grunted and pulled the 2 girls off of the couch. Get off. If you're good enough to make out with her, you're good enough to walk. Go get some rest in your room. Izuka slowly made her way out of the room, a cackling Toga following her. Who cares what it's called? I don't want all that crazy to seep into it. HMMPH. Brooding couch. Izuka giggled as Dabi closed the door. Toga brought the girl into her room. So this is your room. Lotta knives. Toga's room held several knife displays. Each one polished to perfection. So are we. Izuka was cut off as Toga threw her onto the bed. The blonde began stripping. So we're doing this? Izuka asked. Won't Dabi know? Toga moaned loudly. No response from Dabi. My room is soundproof. Dabi made it like this when I had a bit too much fun with myself. Okay, what if we wake up naked? Toga grinned. I don't wear pajamas. Dabi hates it, but it does get really fun to mess with him. But anyways, I'm only doing this if you want to. Izuka smiled. It's a good thing I'm crazy. Dabi didn't hear from them the entire night. Hey Toga, have you seen Oh Fuck? Not 2 of you. Izuka opened her eyes and yawned, before looking at Dabi. What you lookin' for? Dabi short-circuited as the naked girl stretched, her breasts on full display. Hey. Are you okay? Izuka tilted her head. I can't do this. Just be downstairs in a half hour for breakfast. We'll work on sword training today. Dabi closed the door as he walked out. Nudists. Izuka giggled and began waking Toga up. Hey babe. Dabi wants us. Toga slowly opened her eyes and rolled over, pinning Izuka to the bed. Why does he want us? Breakfast. Toga smiled and tensed her hand, squeezing Izuka's inner thigh. What if I had you for breakfast? Come on babe. I need to do sword training today. Izuka gasped, before letting out a moan as Toga squeezed a different spot. Fine. Let's go. Izuka stood up. Babe. Can I borrow some clothes? Toga walked over to a closet and opened it. Inside was a large wardrobe of skirts, pants, hoodies, jackets, you name it. Izuka picked out an outfit and put it on. What do you think? Izuka asked. She was wearing black leggings and a black skirt. A green hoodie was zipped up over top a white shirt. Toga stepped towards her. I'd prefer you in nothing. Maybe just panties and a bra. Oh well. Izuka smiled. Do you know what Dabi made for breakfast? Toga sighed. Oatmeal. It's always oatmeal. The two made their way to the table, where Dabi sat waiting with a pot of oatmeal. Eat up. Izuka looked at the bland substance in her bowl. No sugar? Dabi took a bite and looked at her. Only the weak eat oatmeal with sugar. No, you're just bland. Toga sighed. So you too. What did you do last night? Dabi pointed his spoon at them. We fucked. Toga said. Not a big deal. Izuka blushed a little bit. Huh. Guess it wouldn't have mattered even without the Namu. Dabi took another bite. Just don't go too hard. We've got missions again in 2 weeks. Until then, we'll be doing sword training. Then we'll review everything on the last day. Izuka nodded. Okay, when do we start? After breakfast, we're gonna have you fight some Namu. Izuka shuddered, remembering the monster from her torture. Hey, don't worry. It'll be fine. The Namu are really fun to let loose on. Toga smiled. I can't wait to see you spill their blood. Izuka looked at her girlfriend. Blood. Her eyes dilated, she grinned. Blood. Izuka? You okay? Dabi asked, snapping the girl out of her trance. Huh? Oh yeah. I'm done with my breakfast. Good, Dabi nodded. I am too. Seems like Toga is as well. Let's get going. Do you have your suit? Actually, gonna see if I can have a new one made. Maybe I'll make it myself, Izuka said. Okay then. I'll see if I can get you materials for it. The three walked out into the bustling streets of Hazo. Izuka kept the sword in its case. She didn't want to draw any attention to herself. They made their way to a rundown building. Izuka recognized it as the building they had teleported to from the bar when she was revived. A portal opened up, and they stepped through. Izuka stood before 3 people. One was the misty bartender from 3 months ago. The second was Sensei, and the third was a young man with light blue hair. Are you sure that she's the one? She looks too green, literally. Izuka shot the blue-haired man a glare, eliciting a chuckle from Sensei. Patience Tamura, she has agreed to join our ranks, and has undergone the trials that were imposed upon the 2 with her. You watched Dabi's trial, I recall. The light-haired man shuddered. Okay then, what can she do? Sensei smiled. That's what we're going to find out. Izuka Midoriya, step forward. You will be sent into the observation arena. There you will fight against several Namu, are you prepared? I didn't go through 3 months of hell to turn back now. Izuka growled. Sensei smirked. Okay, then, let's get going, shall we? A portal opened, dropping Izuka into an arena. A single Namu was in the center of the battle area. Izuka heard a voice from a loudspeaker. Every 5 minutes, another Namu will join. Defeat them all, or survive for a half hour. Begin. The Namu rushed Izuka, who barely dodged the strike. The Namu was relentless, chasing her around the arena in a deadly game of cat and mouse. She isn't that good. I don't see anything, silence Tamura, just watch. The second Namu was released, the 2 teamed up and began hitting their strikes. Come on, she'll just die like all the others. Toga rushed forward and hit the button on the speaker. Babe. Everything stopped. Izuka looked up at the loudspeaker. Toga? Tamura glared at the blonde girl. All for one chuckled. Dabi grinned. Toga looked at the girl on the screen. Make him bleed for me. The battle resumed. But it was clear that there was a change. Izuka began gaining the advantage. Fighting tooth and nail. The third Namu entered the arena. Izuka was hit by a single punch, right in the face. She was thrown into the side of the arena, where she lay unmoving next to her case. Tamura shook his head. A waste of a human. Little did he know that the speaker was on, and his words reached Izuka. Wa-ste. Deku. You can't be a hero. Izuka began giggling. In the observation room, Toga blushed. Oh, it's about to go down. Tamura slumped and watched the battle continue. His eyes went wide as Izuka began cackling. Is she crazy? All for One smiled. That's it. There's the volatility. Izuka pushed herself to her feet, the Namu moving in slow motion. She stomped on the case holding her sword, shattering it. The fragments interrupted the Namu's charge. Izuka picked up the sword and unsheathed it. Madness glowing in her eyes, blood dripping from her forehead. Well? Come on. I want a challenge. Tamura blinked, and a Namu was suddenly pinned to the wall. Izuka's hand around its neck. With a single swipe, the beast was decapitated. Izuka looked at the blood on her hands and giggled crazily, rubbing the red substance on her face. So good. I get why Toga would be addicted. Tamura was backing away from the screen. What is she? So hot. Toga breathed, squirming. Izuka rushed forward, decapitating the next Namu. More. I need more. I'll kill them all. The floor was being stained red. Izuka cackled maniacally. Tamura watched the girl kill the third Namu. She's completely unhinged. Dabi smirked. No, she's not. She's crazier. Toga shuddered. Izuka. What do you want to do? Who is it you hate? Izuka was still. Is it me? No change. Is it Tamura? No change. Is it Dabi, or Sensei? Still no change. What are you doing? Tamura asked the blonde. Toga gave a wicked smile. The last two Namu appeared at the same time. Showing you. Showing me what? Toga brought the microphone to her lips. All might. A wave of pure killing intent washed out of the girl. It was so powerful that Tamura could feel it from where he was standing, and the arena that Izuka was in was miles away. Mora saw that the Namu were responding as well. But they don't have a mind. The Namu were shaking. Mindless creatures, they still had instinct. And their instinct was screaming one thing. Be afraid. Tamura watched with fright as Izuka threw her sword, nailing the fourth Namu in the head. She suddenly appeared behind the last one and dug her hands into its head, ripping its exposed brain out and killing it instantly. All for One clapped. A good show. I can't wait to see her appear on the news. Izuka was teleported back into the observation room. You did well. All for One said. I can't wait for you to start your missions. For now, go and rest. You three will hear from me in a few weeks. Keep on the down low until then. Izuka grinned and bowed. Yes, Sensei. It will be done. The bartender opened a portal and teleported the Vanguard directly into their home. Well, I guess, it would be odd to walk around covered in blood. Izuka said. Dabi shrugged. We could always use the ambulance again. Toga ran forward, her eyes dilated, her tongue hanging out of her mouth as she drooled. Izuka could see a wet spot growing between her legs. You're so directly into their home. Well, I guess, it would be odd to walk around covered in blood. Izuka said. Dabi shrugged. We could always use the ambulance again. Toga ran forward, her eyes dilated, her tongue hanging out of her mouth as she drooled. Izuka could see a wet spot growing between her legs. You're so beautiful. All covered in blood. So much. Izuka's face twisted into a smile. Do you want to clean me? Toga dragged the girl into her room and slammed the door. Dabi just shook his head and sighed. Crazies. I should just go to my brooding couch.